What's up, guys? Welcome to Champion Picks. This edition of Champion Picks is our Week 10 NFL DraftKings lineups. Let's take a look at what we did last week. We have this lineup got changed a little bit because of injuries. So I make these videos early in the week, so sometimes injuries change, and I have to make some changes. So it's very similar to the original lineup. So the only real difference in this lineup is I dropped Ty Montgomery because I read some stuff about his injury probably being worse than it was going to be, and I think he ended up not playing. So I plugged in Michael Thomas. I was talking about being high on the Saints this week. Obviously, they scored a lot of points for Ty Montgomery, and then I plugged in Melvin Gordon because for the difference of the money over JJ. So that just kind of tells you the difference. It scored 154. I think it cashed in all 50-50s. I think it was in two 50-50s and two contests. The contest only cashed in one, got my money back. One contest it lost, and then it cashed in three 50-50s. So not terrible. I seem to hang around this 150, 170 range. So these lineups are really good for 50-50s, which is where you make majority of your money in DraftKings. I mean, winning contests is not really how you cash. Week in and week out, you want to play a lot of 50-50s and just double your money. All right, let's take a look at what I got this week. I like Phillip Rivers to score a lot of points versus Miami. JJ versus San Diego's bad running defense. Lamar Miller at Jacksonville. Coming off that shoulder injury, I think Miller's going to be hungry for a big game. Technically, that division's still wide open, so we'll see. Corey Coleman coming back from his hand injury at Baltimore. I mean, this kid's just pure talent, and I just want to see what he's got. I had to budget wide receivers for this lineup because I have a lot of high dollar players in here. So I went with J.J. Nelson and Corey Coleman. They were both very cheap, but I think two high-end upside wide receivers. Terrell Williams is a stack with Phillip Rivers. Gronk, man. I think Seattle is very, very exploitable through the middle, through seams, being at home. I think they'll shut down the outside, but I think Gronk is going to tear it up this week. So I definitely like to play on Gronk. Darren Sproles. If you look, Philly has had its woes in the offense. They just look terrible versus the Giants, and not necessarily them, but just some terrible coaching mistakes. And Darren Sproles is one of those players that when you need a lot of plays and big points, which is what they're going to need versus Atlanta's high-powered offense, they're going to generate a lot of plays to him. It's just what you do for that kind of scat back. So I really like Darren Sproles in my flex. Cardinals defense I have rolling on both sides. And we'll start on this other lineup, Cardinals defense, and then I'm rolling with the Carson Palmer, David Johnson stack. So versus San Francisco at home, not a very good defense. Historically, one of the worst defenses in the history of the NFL. I was reading an article about it. And then I roll with Tim Hightower. They was a running back by committee. It was him and Mark Ingram, and he was very usable. I think being at home, they're not going to be able to run the ball straight at Denver, but there is going to be a lot of running back play, a lot of screens and that kind of stuff to generate offense with that tough defense. Aqib Talib should be back, so they should be able to shut down a lot of the passing game to the wide receivers. But I really like Hightower catching balls out of the backfield, the screen game, and being that shotgun back, where Mark Ingram would be in a game where they would pound the ball a lot. I like Hightower versus the Broncos. We got Dez at Pittsburgh. I think Dez was still kind of hurt last week. Like, he had that nagging knee injury, and he had a good cornerback on him. I think he's going to have a bounce-back game at Pittsburgh. They don't necessarily stop the pass that well, so we got Dez. And then I got my value play at Cordero Patterson. With the new offensive coordinator in, Cordero Patterson has got the most targets he ever got last week at 8. He also has a lot of running plays that Norvid built in, so hopefully with the new coordinator they will still hand the ball to Patterson, but obviously his target share has gone up. So I think the highest he had before was like 6 and only caught like 4 balls, but he had 8 targets this week. And a good week of practice with Patterson in, I feel like they're just trying to get him the ball. He's a gifted athlete, and you got to get him the ball in open space so he can make plays. And then we got Willie Snead. Like I said about Denver, I think they'll shut down the outside, but Willie Snead being that big, tall slot threat, and they only have so many cover cornerbacks in Denver. When you got to start covering with safeties when they're in 4 and 5 wide, Willie Snead's going to be able to catch some balls on the inside. So I definitely like Willie Snead. And then Greg Olsen. KC has got some good cover cornerbacks, but they like to blitz, and Cam just favors Greg Olsen at home. So Greg Olsen's a good play for me at 5,900. And then Mohamed Sanu. Julio had a great game last week, despite having a rough first quarter, but one thing that you do versus a good team like Atlanta is you take away your best weapon. And so Philly does have a good defense. They've played decent defense all year. So I think Philly's going to really key in and double team Julio. That doesn't mean Julio won't catch balls. He caught balls on double teams last week, but I definitely think Mohamed Sanu is worth the 4,600. So those are my two lineups this week. Guys, I just want to say I get a lot of comments about people saying, oh, this guy's hurt or this and that. These aren't like, you don't have to follow these like a Bible or anything, man. Just play what you think. These are just suggestions and plays and kind of, my reasoning behind what I line up. Like if you only like Phillip Rivers and Gronk, only play Phillip Rivers and Gronk. This is just, a kind of teaser out there to kind of get you started on your lineup. Or if you're new to DraftKings and have no idea, then yeah, you can copy one of these. But I'm 3 weeks in a row now cashing 50-50. So, and with lineups over 150 points. So doubling your money is pretty good. If you score over 130 to 150 points, in games of $5 to $20 50-50s, that's where your value's at. So just take it as it is, and do what you think. Don't just follow my plays. So. Thanks again for supporting all the videos. You can click here for my last fantasy football video for the year. The normal season's almost over, and I'll be adding my NFL and college football picks. Have a good week, guys.